Thanks for watching the replay, and thanks for jumping in and checking out my broadcast. This is actually my very, very first broadcast, so I appreciate very much you coming in here, and sorry I missed you live. If you're not following me yet, just click the follow button, and you'll be able to know when I am going live next, if I can make it through this first broadcast. My name is Colleen Hammond. I'm the founder of the Total Image Institute and creator of the Style Academy, and I work with mostly women to craft their personal brand. So what they wear, how they speak, how they handle themselves, all of it says something, and we do get judged. Like it or not, people judge us within the first 7 seconds of seeing us. So I appreciate you coming in, and hopefully you're going to stick around because this whole thing is quite new for me. So I appreciate that. And I'm also a woman of God. I tried to do this a little bit earlier. I had some audio difficulties, and I, for some reason, had turned off my notifications. Hey, Rachel. Oh, I'm so happy to see you here. You have no idea. So yeah, this is the first one. Alex will be so proud. And I'm waiting for Alex to go on. If I see his name pop across the top of the screen, I'm going to totally freak out. But my topic for today is the 7 top tips for flawless communication, because quite frankly, bad communication is normally the number one reason we either lose our jobs, don't get a job, bad relationships, bad marriages, everything kind of boils down to communication. So wanted to come up with some quick tips on that. So since it is my first and very, very first, I would appreciate it if you would share it out if you think this is something that would be a valuable value to other people. All you have to do is tap that little button that's down at the bottom of the screen, those 3 little dots. And then there's a follow and a share broadcast screen that will come up. So there's those 3 little dots. So if you would be so inclined to do that, I would certainly appreciate it very, very much. So anyway, let's get into some ideas here and see if I can monitor. I got that Broadcast Pro thing going, and it just isn't pulling up for me here. So I was hoping to be able to see comments, but that doesn't seem to be working. So I'm going to have to keep looking down at my phone because I'm using Broadcast or Producer Pro or Periscope Producer to broadcast this. So all new to me, so please be kind. I appreciate it very much. So anyway, the very first tip that, and somebody give me a comment, so at least I know if I shut the comment. Earlier I had the comments and all totally moderated and shut off. So if somebody could give me an emoji or a 1 or a 2 or something that would be very helpful for me to know that the comments are actually working for me here. So anyway, the first tip for flawless communication is active listening. And this is different. Listening is a lot different than hearing. So when you're actually actively listening to somebody, you have to actually listen to their words. So have you ever done that where you're having a conversation with somebody and you don't feel like they are even listening to the words that you're saying? You know, they're kind of there, but they're not. And it's almost like they're just waiting for an opportunity to jump in and say something. So active listening is more maintaining that eye contact and then repeating back to people what they're saying to you. So if I understand you correctly, or if what you're saying is this, am I understanding you correctly? So what you're saying is, and you can either use their words back to them, or you can rephrase it in your own words. So that would really indicate that you actually were listening. And we want to listen for ideas and concepts, not just the words that people are saying, but ideas and concepts of the points that they're trying to get across. We also want to look at the link between their words and their body language. Because sometimes, hey Pippi, thanks for joining. Sometimes people will say something and you're not quite sure, but you don't believe them because subconsciously you're picking up on their body language and their body language isn't matching their words. So TCAC Mac, I like that, TCAC Mac, thanks for joining. So you want to match all of that together, the tone of voice, maybe your past experience with that person as well will be something that will indicate whether or not you think that they're joining or they're telling the truth. A lot of people joining in, so thanks. I know there's somebody must be sharing because we got a couple of people popping in. Our topic is flawless communication skills, and I am only on step number 1, which was active listening. Step number 2 is something I just mentioned is body language. Thanks for joining, Alpha. I have an upcoming course on body language. I was actually taught body language by an FBI profiler and got to sit in on some interrogations, and that's how I really did learn how to read body language. Flawless communication is our topic. Thanks, Jen. Janice, how do you pronounce that? Janice? So you're looking at their body language. You're looking at whether or not they're giving you eye contact. What are they doing with their arms and with their legs? And something to keep in mind with body language, Jay, nice. Got it. Thank you. Something to keep in line with a mind and body language is a lot of times people will say, oh, I know what this means. This means they're either lying or they're, have you ever seen that where somebody's like, oh, I know exactly what this is? Well, that's one word in a sentence when it comes to body language. Body language is a sentence, and you're looking at a lot of different things. So that one word out of the sentence, someone's arms crossed, could mean that they're cold. It could mean that they just got in a habit of doing that when they were younger. Or they could be that they were just, if they were a girl, they developed early and they were trying to protect them. Body language does say a lot. And, we can really pick up so many things subconsciously that we don't even realize that we really do understand body language. So when you learn body language and you understand all the different micro expressions and how it all works together into a sentence, it's really difficult not to look at people and go, oh my gosh, they're lying. Or, once you learn it, it's very difficult to disconnect from it, because we really do understand body language subconsciously. So if there's ever been a time where you just kind of had a feeling about somebody, you weren't quite sure, so you listen before you key in on body language, they kind of go together, where you're listening to what people are saying, but you're also keeping an eye on their body language, their eye contact, their eye movement, their tone of voice, and past experience and past knowledge of the person helps as well. So it does all work together. Hey, Dequire, thanks for jumping in. So that's the number 2 would be to using, when you're communicating, trying to see if your wife listens to you. What's interesting in spouses, though, they find that some spouses, especially if they've been married for a long period of time, when they don't look at each other. Hey, Rachel, you're back. And I can't see that name. Sahin, hi. I'm so glad to hear, Rachel, that once they've been married for a long time, and thanks for the hearts too, good chocolate hearts, that they don't look at each other, and that's actually shows deeper communication skills between a married couple is when they don't look at each other, but they're still communicating. So it depends on how long you've been married, and it depends on the relationship as well. So that's a really good question. So the third tip on flawless communication would be to be clear and concise, and a lot of people try to put this as number 1. But if you're rambling too much, and you notice a lot of people when they're doing periscopes, they'll say the 7 tips for this or the 5 tips for that, especially, oh my goodness, Jay, nice, that is nice, the most valuable scope you've seen. I really, really appreciate that. That when you see somebody that has a numbered list that they're going to be giving you, they're not going to be, hopefully, aren't going to be rambling. I'm a bit of the Irish in me, so sometimes I ramble a bit. But what's the purpose and goal for your message? This is true, especially when you are looking in like a job situation, that you want to make sure that in your job situation you want to use clear and concise language. Concise can mean different things for different people in different situations. So too short sometimes is, short can be too short, long can sometimes be too long. So it depends on the situation, it depends on the content, it depends on how much time you're given. It depends on you're a male or a female. So women tend to use on average of 40,000 words a day, where men will use on average of 10,000 words a day. So women have to challenge themselves to be far more concise than men do, and men have to challenge themselves to be a little bit more explanatory. Hey, Nick, thanks for joining in. So what's your purpose and the goal for your message? There are different temperaments. You're the breadwinner, so your wife is concise. That's pretty good. There are different temperaments. And by temperaments, I don't know if you've ever done Myers-Briggs, the DISC color code. The one that I prefer is the choleric, melancholic, sanguine, phlegmatic. And those different temperaments are the behaviors that you're born with. And I do have a class that I'm teaching on that. That is coming up next Tuesday that I have, I think 13 seats left in. But the bit.ly link, if you want to look at that, is bit.ly link is bit.ly/4, the number 4, temp, TEMP, register, REGISTER, 4 temp register. But there's behaviors that people are born with. There's temperaments, and not really personalities, but behaviors that they're born with. And they will act certain ways. And depending on if they're male or female, that will fluctuate and impact that. Then also depending on their sensory style, or their love languages, if you're familiar with the 5 Love Languages book, that will determine how clear and concise they are as well. Females are hard to read, and I'm a woman, and I agree. But once you understand a little bit more about women, would tend to be more emotionally led. They're also more network led. So men work in a hierarchy where women work more on emotions, relationships, and a network. So when you understand different things about, hey, Eric, thanks for jumping in. I love the women so much. When you understand really where women are coming from, what motivates them and what drives them, then, it makes it easier to understand them as well. So there are temperaments that are too concise. Men tend to be a little bit too concise. Women tend to ramble. So all of this comes into consideration when you're trying to decide what's clear, what's concise, what's not. But when you're communicating with somebody, it's important not to use slang or industry language as well. So, my husband, for example, works at IBM. They're all about acronyms. Everything's the CRB has to be, once I get the CRB, then I can send you the ALM for the RMBCD. Well, they all understand each other, but if you're outside of those circles, you have to be careful. The industry jargon that you use, or any kind of slang or acronyms or anything like that. Are there body languages you can share that shows you are not clear and concise? Not from a body language point of view. You would have to just look at somebody's language and their communication and how many words they're using to get across. And again, it depends on the situation. You want to continue to explain something to somebody so that it is clear. So you may try to be so concise, but you're too concise, then it isn't clear. So then you have to use more words. So it's all part of reading the situation. But you want to try to get across your point in as few words as possible. Number 4, you want to be gracious, friendly, personable. I mean, that should be our goal in all of our relationships and all of our situations and everything that we're doing in our lives. Using a person's name. For example, Rachel came in. She's a talent attorney, but I know her in other places through Alex Kahn's masterclass, and I know her name is Rachel. Using people's names. It's Jay Nice. I wanted to make sure I said it right. A lot of times people will use their screen names, but we want to know their real names. So people who check in, this is your concise face. That's good. People will check in, and oftentimes, I've been on Facebook Live for about a month, and normally people will use their real names over on Facebook. But when you get over into Periscope, Twitter, Instagram, the other social media platforms, people have more screen names or pseudonyms that they use. But people love the sound of their own name. And what's interesting is after people have been married, for example, a long time, they will tend to have pet names for each other. Hey, babe, how's it going, honey? That type of thing, where we're not using each other's names anymore. What's interesting is when we end up using the other person's name in anger. So in a marriage relationship, when communicating within a relationship, it's good to use the other person's name in a happy situation, because what it does is it takes you back to those courtship years. So when the most beautiful sound in the world to someone is the sound of their own name. So using the information that is to use that person's name is very powerful. And thanks for those hearts. I appreciate it. So being able to use persons' names, asking about someone's personal life. You have to be careful with this at work because you don't want to cross any boundaries at work. So asking about a personal life and a personal situation at work might not be the best thing in the world. On my Facebook Live program that I've been doing for a month, we've got a good group of people. And I've known these people now for a month. And I know a lot of their personal situations. We do prayer requests. People ask for prayers, so I know about their personal life. Never met them, never spoken with them on the phone. But when they get on my live program and I say, hey, Jocelyn, how's it going? Because, how's this situation? Yeah, of course we'll pray for you. Hey, Soy, you too. So being honest, open, and friendly. Again, that smiling and eye contact. There are 7 judgments that people make about us within 7 seconds. The quickest one is trustworthiness. People determine whether or not they trust us within 0.2 of a second of seeing us. So you have all of those instantaneous judgments that are made about us. One of the ways, hey Gus, thanks for coming in. And thank you, Jay Nice. I really appreciate that. There's, I get it now. What was I saying? See, I'm trying to be clear and concise. Oh, smiling and eye contact. So you've got 0.2 of a second, somebody determines whether or not they trust you. One of the ways that there's one scent that somebody can wear that immediately brings about trust. And then there's another, like smiling will immediately increase your chances of somebody trusting you. So there's a couple of things that you can do. So being open, honest, and friendly, smiling, and maintaining eye contact is something that is really important, especially for a choleric temperament. And again, if you've done any of the other styles, like an ENTJ, something like that, and it would depend on their secondary, but that's all covered in the course that I'm teaching. The number 5 tip would be patient. Sometimes, and depending on somebody's temperament, they may pause, or depending on their sensory style, if they're more kinesthetic, they may pause. I mentioned a scent. Yes, I did. There's a scent, actually it's lavender. If you have lavender that is part of your scent, it increases the chances that somebody will trust you by 70%. I was told they couldn't trust me because I'm black. It depends on somebody's previous situations. I grew up, my dad was an athlete, so I had the colors of the rainbow in my house growing up, and I didn't know the difference. I know some people had blonde hair, some people had dark hair, somebody had brown eyes, some people had green eyes, some people had blue eyes, some people's skin was darker than others, Yeah, I was waiting for you to come back on. Thanks, LaDon. Yeah, I don't know what had happened. I had to call somebody, and then my internet went down, so then it took me a while to get back on. So it depends on somebody's background. I have never, ever, ever had a bad experience with a black person in my life. And I grew up in the Detroit area, maybe. I don't know, maybe that had something to do with it. But other people have. So it would depend. And somebody could say the same thing about me. Matter of fact, I had people, I'm getting the green screen look because I have a green screen behind me. I'm using Periscope Producer, that's why. And that is a green screen. And if I move too quickly, you can kind of see the green over my shoulders. That was the other problem, is one of the cats knocked over my lights, and so it kind of knocked my green screen lighting off. So it depends on background. People had a bad experience with me. I moved to the South, and I really saw racism at its finest when I was in the South. At its finest, quote unquote. I mean, I didn't know there were still KKK meetings. I thought it was part of movies, but oh my, yes there is. And then I had people that treated me differently because I was white. So I got the other shoe on the other foot, so I experienced. So somebody may not trust me because they had a bad experience with somebody that looks like me early on in their life. And it might not even be a racial thing. There's some people that don't like women in general because they've had such bad experiences with women, or women that don't like men in general because they've had such bad experiences with men. Our dog didn't like the FedEx delivery guy because he had a beard, so we should be patient with them and read their body language and listen to their words and, all of that good stuff. So anyway, back to being patient, being active listening. Some people have a personal agenda, as I said before, that and we all kind of do, where we're thinking that, all right, I'm going to wait for there to be a pause, and then I'm going to jump in because I have something I want to say. And before I forget it, I'm going to interrupt you because I have something I need to say, right? So the challenge is to really, try to keep that in the back of your mind and then let them finish, because if they're more of a kinesthetic personality, then they may be that long pause, maybe because they're still thinking, but they're not done speaking yet. Being careful that we don't have our personal agenda jumping in there. Thank you. Thanks for following me. So let me see. Listening, waiting for a chance to speak. Okay. Then we move on to number 6. Number 6 is being impartial, trying to be open-minded. The old saying, don't be so open-minded that your brain falls out. But being open to hearing what the other person is saying to you, putting yourself in their shoes. Try to see where they're coming from. I should run for president. I used to be involved in politics. Not anymore. Put yourself in their shoes, see their side. Try not to have your own hidden, you're kinesthetic. Yeah, that means you speak a little slower. And touch is very important. And, so you have to be careful with someone who's kinesthetic that you don't cut them off. It's kind of like working with somebody that has a stuttering issue. You can't finish sentences for them because it makes it worse for them. You'd have my vote. Thank you, ma'am. So no passive aggressiveness either. We all have hidden agendas. Absolutely. Absolutely. We all have our own agenda. We all have, and that's why it's difficult to be impartial. It's difficult to have an open mind. It's more challenging, I should say, that you want to be open-minded. You want to communicate with this person. You want to get your point across. But we all have our own agendas, and we all have. How many times have you truly been in an argument with somebody where you've changed their point of view? Or how many? Oh, Sherry! Oh my gosh! I wondered if I saw C-Ab. Yeah, you have an egg, and so the egg, you need a picture on there, sweetie. But how many times has somebody changed your mind? We all tend to have our own point of view, and I have, a rare genetic disease. Well, we're prayers for the rare genetic disease then. But how many times has somebody changed your mind, or how many times have you changed somebody else's mind? But in order to communicate appropriately and well with somebody, you want to have an open mind and be able to see it from their point of view. You may not agree with them, but at least you can see where they're coming from. Being impartial. And number 7, it's okay to agree to disagree, but set your boundaries. Value your own self. Value your opinions. And chocolate's a good scent too. You'll fix it later. Okay, Sherry. But lavender is the scent that increases your chance of being trusted by over 20% or over 70%. Setting your boundaries. Value yourself in your own opinions. Just because communication is not about always agreeing, right? Let me say it is. Have you got some? Okay. Sometimes you agree to disagree, and then you just have to walk away. So it's okay to I've been married for over 30 years. I don't agree with my husband all the time. We don't agree on everything. And my best friend, there's a lot of things we don't agree on, but we're best friends. We agree to disagree on a lot of things, and we just okay, we're just not going to talk about that. Oh, I forgot. You don't like that. Let's not talk about it. Ha ha ha. But we have set the boundaries. The boundaries being sometimes we just don't talk about these things. So open communication isn't necessarily about coming to an agreement on anything. Sometimes the agreement is we agree to disagree, but you have to stay true to yourself and set your own boundaries. If you're upset, if somebody has gotten you so upset in this discussion, you need to just walk away. Sometimes it's okay, you crossed my boundary. I need to step back for a minute and regroup. And especially if somebody is an introvert. You do that as well with your husband? Yeah. She's got it. I love that name. She's got it. That you have to walk away. One of those sayings is never let the sun set on your anger. Well, I think sometimes the sun has to set on your anger so you have time to calm down. Otherwise, you're just sitting up all night looking at each other, So I don't necessarily agree with that. But it's okay to assert your ideas and your beliefs in a level-headed way. I don't think that throwing bottles and, it's not accomplishing anything, is one of the things I liked about Martin Luther King, it's just very, very peaceful. So anyway, learning to assert your ideas and knowing that it's okay to disagree. Just agree to disagree and learning to say no. So here's the opportunity to try out something new. See if you can do this, because this is supposed to work. So here are all 7, and I'm just curious, can you take a screenshot of this and share it? Because I have been told that if I centered that correctly, it'll show up correctly. So anyway, these are the 7 tips for flawless communication. And if you want to screenshot it and share it, that would be really, really awesome. Is active listening, just paying close attention, repeating back to people. So if I understood you correctly, and I think Mark Twain was the one that said you have 2 ears. Well, actually, it goes back to Plato, but 2 ears and 1 mouth, and you should use them in that proportion. So being actively listening, using positive body language, keeping yourself open, not crossing your arms. And again, I have an upcoming course on that. Being clear and concise. What's the purpose and goal for your message? Have some key points that you want to make. And again, I'm teaching a class. I'll give you that in just a second on... Rachel had to leave and come back again. I see you popping in at the bottom. I'll give the bit.ly link for that in just a second. But being clear and concise. Being gracious, friendly, personable. We should do that all the time. But, using other people's name politely. Being patient. Waiting for another person to get their point across. Being impartial and open-minded. Put yourself in their shoes. Walk a mile in their shoes so you can see it from their point of view. And knowing that it's okay to agree to disagree. And sometimes you just need to set some boundaries, and that's okay if you're agreeing to disagree. I noticed a bunch of people, did you get booted out when I changed screens? That's what's interesting to me. It's just all of a sudden the number went down and then went way back up again. So I know that I'm new to Periscope and I'm new to Periscope Producer. I'm not new to OBS. I'm really familiar with OBS, but I just noticed when I went to a full screen slide, numbers went down and then a bunch of people joined back in again. So I'm going to have to go back and take a look at that. So that's the list. And so I'm hoping you exited by accident. Okay. I'm hoping that people were actually able to get a screenshot of that. So I'll be able to go back and take a look at that when we're done. And above is on the scroll above. You got booted too. Okay. That's good to know, Sherry. So the screen on the scroll above, it's giving the bit.ly link for the class that I have coming up. It's something I'd go into corporations and I teach on communications, but it's deeper than that. It's knowing other people's personality styles and the temperament that they were born with, why people do the things that they do, how our gender influences that, how our sensory styles influence that. So there's 2 different bit.ly links. The 4temp class that just went across the top of the screen, that takes you right to the shopping cart. And then the other one is 4temp register. That will take you to the registration page. You can purchase it through PayPal or you can go to the registration page. The registration page will give you a little bit more information. So 4temp register will give you the information. But it's about communications basically. But what happens is that I have some blocking to do in just a minute, don't I? Because you know what? This is my first scope. I don't know how to block. So I have something I need to learn. I was told you could just swipe, but it doesn't seem to swipe. I don't get it. So, there you go. Hey, wonderful. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm sure you have a name. She got it, but I just like that. She's got it. So anyway, that's the registration, and I'll go into a corporation and I teach it. And it's $20,000 to $50,000 is what I charge corporations to go in and teach the information. I teach it as a continuing education class for psychiatrists and psychologists, and for them I got charged $2,000. For people just like us, I usually charge $397, and I did it as a Cyber Monday sale for $97. So that's the link that's above. How do I style the hairdo? It's all Gucci, baby. I wake up, this is what it does all by itself. I don't even style it. I actually just roll out of bed and this is what it does. So there's no styling involved. So anybody have any more questions? Anything else they want to know? Most of my topics are anywhere around communications. Most of my topics tend toward an image consultant. My background, again, I was a former on-camera meteorologist at the Weather Channel. I did some anchoring and reporting at CNN, and I left it all to be a stay-at-home mom. But in the meantime, I continued to do work at, voiceover work, and I did documentaries for the Discovery Channel and A&E and all them. They're all owned kind of by the same people. So a lot of what I do is image consulting. So my scopes will range anywhere from your personal image to communication skills to how to put on makeup, which is not my most specialty, and how to do my hair, in case Gucci's interested. So I kind of go all over the place. Anything about personal branding and personal imaging is something that I do. How to pick out your colors, how to pick out, how can you look like that? Taken, I got it. So it's a wide variety of things that I do. So I really appreciate it. I was very happy to see so many people show up in my first one, and I, just kind of, when I tried earlier, and I know LaDon was, and I was in beauty pageants, yeah, I was actually Miss Michigan National Teenager. I think I already do follow you, actually, because it's showing up that we've got the little dudes in the corner, so I think I do follow you. So, but if you feel like this was something that was worth somebody else's time, and you feel you got something out of it, please share. Like I said, I'm brand spanking new to Periscope. This is my first full scope. I did one test one, and I had a crash and burn this morning where I had all the moderation shut off. So this is really my first scope. So anything, if you feel that you got something out of it, I would appreciate a share out there. And I plan on scoping the same time every day at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'll be adding more times as the week goes on, where I'm going to be doing, morning motivations like at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning, and that type of thing. So just make sure you follow so you don't miss anything. So thanks so much. And I think now is when I have to put up this last screen for the last 30 seconds. That's what I've been told. I put up this last screen for the last 30 seconds to make sure that I get a nice, clean picture for Periscope to use as my little, and I hope I centered that right. Alex Kahn showed me how to do this, so I really sincerely hope I centered it correctly. So anyway, I got to go and put this in the top of Twitter, and thanks, LaDon, for sharing the love, and the police. I'm glad it's a little off center. Well, and then I'll have to adjust it a little bit later. So I appreciate you joining me, and now I have to figure out how to get out of here. That's the best part. Okay, take care, God bless, and we will talk to you soon. Bye now.